Speaksies.
This is the True Podcast.
True Podcast.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, cool.
It is.
All right, David, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. You look great. Your identity is David Oswald. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And you're in an undisclosed location right now?
Is the undisclosed location known only as the rabbit hole?
Well, I don't know.
I got my foil baseball cap.
If you're just listening to the audio version, you're really missing out. You should go to the YouTube page. Go to speaksies.com/panic, and trust me, it's worth it.
The truth is out there, Scott.
I want to believe. That's all I have to say. So we're going to talk about conspiracies. We've got, of course, Erin here, and myself and Mr. Oswald. But first, we're going to ask how everybody's doing. How are we holding up? I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. It's a little. I'm tired. I'm so fucking tired, which is Erin's line from last week, but it's so appropriate.
It's gonna be my line every week. You're so. Why are you? So why are you so fucking tired?
I don't know.
Can I tell you why?
Yeah, please tell me why.
Let me tell you why. Actually, I'm gonna refer to Brene Brown. I don't know if she's a doctor. I think she's some kind of scientist. I think she studies emotions and shame and other things. She's kind of in the Church of Oprah. If you're not familiar with her,
I'm very familiar with shame. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was on the she's been on a lot of Oprah related podcasts and things, but I was listening to her podcast. She was saying that she was really fucking tired too, and I believe she used those exact words. And I was like, "Oh my God, this was last week. Why is she so fucking tired?" Well, she was saying that we have just completely been our collective adrenaline we're coming down from that, basically. So we've spent weeks being scared. Our kids, same thing, right? Didn't we talk about last week how our kids were like just freaking lost it too, right? They were for weeks they were excited. We were all nervous. We were scared. We were just kind of on edge. Our adrenaline was all up. And now we've reached this level of acceptance where the adrenaline has come down. We still don't know quite what's going on week to week, day to day, but that's why we're so freaking tired. Think about the fight or flight, right? Once you come off of that, like if you have a panic attack or an anxiety attack, once you're coming off of that, you get really drained. And that is what is happening to us collectively. We are in that state. So
that makes a lot of sense. And actually, when you first started talking about this, I thought what she meant, I guess, was that the fact that we're at home now and we can't go out and do anything is like we've been going just as a society for indefinitely, right? And now we have to like take this break and be home. But what you're saying is no, it's the fact that we've had to be on throughout the first 6 weeks of this thing, and we're finally just at the point where we're tapped.
Right.
It's more it's the second one.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. The panic has subsided, and now it's not to say that we're not having some fear or experiencing different emotions, but that initial like whirlwind of adrenaline is over.
Right.
And that's why we're now in the like
exhaustion. I mean, that's a real thing. It's called, if you want to Google it, it's called the general adaptation syndrome. It's I mean, it's not usually like used in such a sort of large like the kind of time span that we're sort of talking about, and the collective sense that we're talking about. But I mean, the idea, holds up in this case. It's like there's an alarm stage, and then there's a resistance where you're kind of just using up everything you got to run away from the bear, or in this case, deal with your shitty kids. And then there's just exhaustion, where you just give up. You hand them the remote to Disney Prime, and you just walk away. That's where we are.
The scary part, I hadn't heard of that. That's good stuff. But
there's a lot down the rabbit hole, Scott.
I'm learning this
down
and
here.
I don't know how far I want to go, but we're gonna take it to the limit tonight. But so the scary part of that is, the more that you use your adrenaline and sort of like, this is the point where I feel like too, your immune system is kind of jacked up because you're stressed, you're tired, and it's not a good time to have an immune system that's, on the fritz. But
I think about that too.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and like last night, I was like, do I have COVID-19 now?
Oh,
I was like, I don't feel good, and I was just like exhausted but it was like really like nasally. My nose was running.
Yeah.
What happened was I ran out of Zyrtec is what happened. And then then I went walking around outside, where there's pollen everywhere, and that there you go. So but so I was like dying.
The only thing that's been keeping me from thinking that I had the COVID is the lack of fever. But I'll start coughing, or I'll just overall feel like hot garbo, and then I'm like, I don't have a fever though. Oh, you know what it is? I'm hungover. Dang it, got to stop drinking so much. But seriously, I mean, it was the other day. I was like, why do I feel like shit? Oh, shouldn't have started drinking Jameson on a podcast with Erin at whatever time I did. Thanks, Erin.
Sorry, guys.
But yeah, it is like, even sometimes I'll have like some shortness of breath, mainly just because I'm overweight or whatever, or anxiety or whatever it is. But then it's like, oh no, shortness of breath. But then I'm like, I don't have a fever, so I'm okay. But
these are still serious symptoms, though.
Oh yeah, I should definitely see a doctor.
Yeah. You might not be okay.
Go to a doctor when this whole thing has passed. And
right. Yeah, that's that. Just because you don't have COVID doesn't mean you're not in trouble with your health.
That is funny though now, because it's like we have this big scary monstrous threat now, that it's like I could have almost it's like there are two diseases now. There's COVID and there's cancer. And it's like, if you don't have either of those, it's like, yeah, I'm all right.
Rub some dirt on it.
What's a little, put some tussin on your diabetes and you go about your business.
Diabetes, actually.
Yeah.
I do believe it's pronounced diabetes.
Some tussin on the beatus.
Yeah.
And you'll be all right.
There's another reference that our younger folk will not get, but.
Young people, I don't think are watching this, I gotta be honest. But if you are, you should Google diabetes because you're missing out. Simpler times. Yeah. So I feel like I need to bring this up because the name of the show mentions Costco, and we haven't done a ton of like hot grocery store talk. But I did go to a Publix today, and I was yelled at and shamed. and I want to start by saying I was wearing a mask and social distancing and all that, but apparently there are like arrows that tell you which way to go down the lanes. Have you guys seen this, or are you aware of this?
I haven't been to the grocery store, but I've heard.
All right. Well, first of all, you're a hero, but no, actually, you're not, because you send your husband.
That's
one person out of the household should be going to the grocery store. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You have to go. So anyway, so I'm just cruising, and I mean, honestly, there weren't that many people there, but I'm just like going down, keeping distance. And a lady, as I could tell she was looking at me funny, and I'm just thinking, it's not the first time a woman has looked at me funny in the grocery store, as you know. But then she kind of whips her head over and she's like, "You're going the wrong way." And I was like, "Whoa." And she points, and there's like these little tiny green arrows that tell you not, and they're not like along the way the whole time. It's just like at the beginning of the aisle that says which way you're supposed to be going. And so I thought that was uncalled for, because I feel like, hey man, this is a time where we all have to be sticking together and be nice to each other. Like, just, you could have nicely said, "You're going the wrong way, sir." But I'm also really sensitive, so maybe she did say that, and it felt like I was yelled at. But so
Now-
PSA,
Okay.
look for the arrows.
That is something. It's like, do you feel like we are coming together? Like, I see stuff on TV, and it's like people coming together, and like we're singing songs and stuff, and people are like, "Lean on me," and I'm like, that's awesome. But then my actual self, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I got my mask, I got my stockpile of toilet paper, and I'm just like sitting on the porch with a shotgun, like, you know. And when I go to the store, I turn into like the dude from Pulp Fiction. I pop the trunk and I'm just like, "Ante up, you fucking pricks!" Like, and don't you come up to my window. Like, put it in the trunk and back the hell away. Like, no one needs to get hurt.
Right.
I don't know. It's like, I'd like to say that I'm like this
Protection mode.
social hero. Yeah, I mean, in that strange way of selfishness, I'm doing my part, I guess, if that makes me feel better. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like sometimes I should be doing more for the general good. But I have more of like I'm just gonna lock down here, get my my family's safe. I know I don't have COVID-19. It ain't coming in my bubble. I don't know. Where are we at with this? Am I a bad person? What's happening?
No, that's what you're doing for the greater good, right? Like, that's what we're supposed to be doing for the greater good, is just sitting your ass at home and not doing anything and telling people to get away from your trunk and not coming in contact with people. Like, someone's dumb enough to come out with without a mask. And I appreciate the grocery store workers, CVS, like all of those people. Michael's, wherever you're going, they're all having masks and gloves. But if you're coming out without a mask and you're working in these stores and you're coming near my trunk, you got to get away. But it really, honestly, it's I believe you're doing for the greater good. It's like, stay to yourself.
But it's so unsatisfying. Like, it doesn't feel like it's like, yes, yeah, that's true. You're doing the right thing by just staying home. But then it's kind of just like, to answer your initial question, Mr. Oswald, I don't think we're coming together. I don't see evidence of like that we're coming together. I think we're maybe in some ways, because we're doing like Zoom happy hours with each other, but it feels like, well, because we can't, like, because we physically can't, right? But it also doesn't have that feel. I think we may have talked about this on the podcast, but the post 9/11 feel of, oh my God, like, everything's in perspective now, and we're gonna be nice to each other for a good 2-3 weeks. Like, really not, but you know what I mean? But you're that feeling of like nothing else matters, solidarity. There's nothing remotely like that I've seen. It's other than, okay, now I saw a funny meme that which weirdly, memes are like getting us through this in some weird way, but some of us, but it said, before the pandemic, Toyota tells you to buy a truck. During the pandemic, in these uncertain times, go buy a truck. You know what I mean? It's like every commercial, like, is about, here's how we can make money during this crisis, and we care about our people that are out working. I don't know. Maybe I'm just jaded tonight, but I don't feel any warm and fuzzies at all.
Do you think that's because okay, so if we would have had this podcast like 3 weeks ago, I think maybe it would have been different, because now we're just inundated with all of the protesters and the images of the, and the political. There always has the political involved, but the protesting has really further divided everybody. And now there's this feeling of like, okay, well, now there's the protesters and the people that want it open and the people that want to, continue to shut it down. So yes, we are losing some of that solidarity. And think about like post 9/11, I didn't feel that political divide. So it was like us against the terrorists, you know? Right. So it was us against the virus, and now it's become us against the protesters, us against
people that won't stay inside.
Exactly.
It all started with that spring break video with all the punchable faces.
Right.
That I think that's when it all started going downhill, because everyone was just like, that's where I can focus the anger that I've been. Because again, and also, with 9/11, I mean, it's obviously apples and like watermelons or whatever, but like you did have at least what you thought was like, here's the bad guys, and then that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But how do you get mad at a virus? So then it's like, I'm going to get mad at either the president or,
done.
Yeah, right. There you go. It's pretty easy. Like that's the easiest one to do. But anyway, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, but you're right. Then there's like, you kind of pick your boogeyman, or at least a couple of them, and it's like the president, the Democrats, China. It is China's fault actually. So, but like,
no conspiracy. That's it.
But well, it might not be China's fault actually.
Well, that could be a conspiracy too. I mean, the whole.
It is true.
We'll get there. Yeah.
Yeah, it may not have been China's fault actually.
Well, let's talk about it.
We might have done that.
Let's talk about it because, right, one of the biggest conspiracy theories is that it was or is a bioweapon manufactured by the Chinese. I mean, that is, one of the biggest conspiracy theories going around. I'm not saying that I believe it. I am saying that I think that, of course, nations are shady. We're shady. They're shady. Everybody's shady to protect themselves. And, but that's out there.
My rebuttal to that one is, like, I think that's one that on the surface you could be like, well, you know what? Sounds like the China I know. Sorry, but yeah, it could happen, right? But then the rebuttal that I heard was from I can't remember the guy's name, but this leading bioscience guy, whatever, the guy that was on Joe Rogan like 6 weeks ago that said all this was going to kind of happen. He said that there's just no way that we are not nearly advanced enough. Nobody's advanced enough to be able to create something like this. Mm-hmm. It's too complex. So
what I like about the China bioweapon idea is like the backstory of why that would be. Like one of the reasons that's thrown out there that they made it was, remember Taiwan had all these protests and it was like, okay, we'll make this thing and get these people under control. Mm-hmm. And there is a lab, there in Wuhan. But I don't know. I mean, like you said, it sounds like the China I know. I feel like the China I know would not let it escape by accident, but would have picked some rural village somewhere and unleashed it upon some unwilling populace of Chinese to see what it would do.
Right.
And then be like, okay, now that we dumped a bunch of COVID-19 in these people's well water, like let's see what it'll do.
Yeah.
I think that's
but it is weird. But it is weird, and so that was one of the first conspiracies that popped up right off the bat, was because, I mean, the fact that the facility's there and that's where it originated. You're like, what are the odds of that? Mm-hmm. I was going to say, I think the next one I heard after that, which was sort of like roundly debunked, was that like the United States had like planted it or something. Mm-hmm. And I never kind of understood what the rationale would have been for that. Well, I guess, I guess it would be to get us all mad at China, right? And then for trade stuff. Is that kind of the idea there?
It's like with that one, the idea was that there was apparently there's like a military games. There's like almost like, I don't know if I want to call it like an Olympics, but I forget exactly what it's called, but it might be called Olympics, but there's like a world military sports Olympics type thing. And they had it in Wuhan.
Hold on, is Matthew Broderick involved in this? Sorry, it was there.
And so yeah, I mean the US was there, and so those were held just like not too long before all this stuff started popping up. And so that was kind of
Really?
is it the US? Like, did the US team, were they there just to like bring this over? Now I will say, like, I was looking up stuff about Wuhan. Apparently Wuhan's like a pretty major like sort of transportation, like economic kind of hub. Like a lot moves through there. So like, if you were the Chinese and you wanted to unleash it on purpose, you definitely wouldn't pick Wuhan to test it out. It would have been by accident. Now, if you were some other country and wanted to mess with China, that might, and you don't want to go for like Beijing. I don't know. It seems like Wuhan might be an idea, but I think that's where all that came from, just because those games were there. And you have to suspect, the US of doing stuff, like you have to suspect China of doing stuff. But you're right. I mean, economically, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. It's like, destroying our biggest, like, buyer of, we're the biggest buyer of like Chinese crap. It's like, is that a good idea?
Well,
yeah, it doesn't. Go ahead, Erin. Sorry.
No, I was going to kind of go on a different tangent about biowarfare, but you ask your question first, because this is going to go in a whole other direction.
No, I was kind of going to keep moving along to which now I don't remember which one it was. The next one was going to. Oh, I was going to say who. So to David's last point was, it doesn't benefit many people, but then you go, okay, well, who does it benefit? Well, let's assume that there's a conspiracy behind this thing. Well, for the sake of discussion here, and some for some power is behind it, right? Who's it benefiting right now? Because you wouldn't think you'd want to have it go as widespread as possible, but then that's when you can really get into the stuff like the deep state stuff or the QAnon stuff, which I think I don't know much about that. I just know that there are conspiracies about. Yeah.
Is that their little thing?
Does that I see? I don't know much about it. I don't know. I don't know the hand signals or anything, but is there like this elite group that's trying to kind of get everybody into submission? And I think in some ways that's the scariest conspiracy, because it's like because that means, well, the one where it's like there isn't really a coronavirus. You know what I mean? Like this is just the world powers or the elites or whomever, or the deep state, trying to show that they can have this power over us. And that's the reason that's scary, is because the people that think that are like, oh, screw it, let's just go run amok.
Right.
Yeah, let's get in a big gathering of protesters. And another thing, if you're going to go out and protest that everything should be open, you don't get to wear a mask. Like most of them don't, but every once in a while you see that the guy in the back who's got the mask on. It's like, fuck you, dude. Like,
there's some.
What are you doing?
What's that, cognitive dissonance there or something?
Yeah.
There's some, like, wait a minute. That's right. Did you see the picture of the ones that were like outside of the subway, and it looked like a zombie horror movie? That was one of the funniest. Oh, you guys didn't see that? Have you seen the movie Shaun of the Dead?
I think some of that, yeah.
So it looks just like the movie poster from Shaun of the Dead, but the protesters are like slammed up against the glass and they're like yelling, and it looks like the cover of like a zombie movie. It's you got to find humor where you can, I guess. But
yeah, but they got to shit or get off the ventilator. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that is that right? I don't know.
I think we have our title for this episode.
Yeah,
you can't have it both ways.
Well, I was going to say about biowarfare and like, the U.S. capabilities and what we've done in the past. So, David Oswald, obviously, more of a JFK conspiracy theorist than I am. But wasn't there something about, and I don't even know if this is proven true or again, just a conspiracy theory, that US was trying to kill Fidel Castro with some kind of pneumonia type disease or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think that's 100%. They tried a lot of different things. And I mean, then they came up with even more than they tried, But
Did they try the poison cigar thing, or is that just one of the ideas? You heard that one, right?
They tried, they tried. I don't know if they tried the poison cigar. There's also an exploding cigar.
I've heard this.
They
that's just more zany than anything else. That's like,
those crazy US people.
I know. They put a banana peel in front of him, like as he was sleeping.
Only if there's somebody behind him with the noise that goes like
with the slide whistle.
Yeah. And then I don't know. And then that song comes on. It's like
Benny Hill, the Benny Hill song. Everything starts moving in like 1.5 times speed or whatever. But yeah.
Okay, but anyway, they definitely tried to poison him. I think they were trying to poison his pudding. They had an idea with the exploding cigar. He liked to scuba dive, and there were ideas about poisoning the wetsuit. And they were like, let's just give him a wetsuit that will be poisoned to shit. And then the guy that was supposed to do it ended up not wanting to give it to him. And then they had one of the other cool ones was because he liked to scuba dive. The CIA built a conch shell that was this really cool looking conch shell where if you scuba dive and you see conch shells, you'd be like, fuck, what is that conch shell?
Right.
That's the coolest conch shell I've ever seen. I'd have to swim to the conch shell now and check this out.
Finding Dory.
Yeah. and then you find a bunch of C4 when you lift it up.
Wow.
That was one of the other ideas. I don't know. Yeah, I think they definitely had hundreds of ideas to kill him, and I think they tried, probably in the dozens.
This makes it sound like we had Wile E. Coyote as our, head of the armed forces or whatever. This is so crazy. You know what we could do? We're gonna make a wall. We're gonna paint it like the road keeps going, and he'll just drive his car right into the wall.
Yes.
Are we bad at assassination? Is that what it is? That's crazy though. Those are some pretty creative ideas. It's just it's amazing. None of them actually.
I think we are better
when they were trying to figure that out. It's like they're probably just all smoking, drinking. What can we do, guys?
Wake up in the middle of the night, write down. She just writes down conch shell and goes back to sleep.
There was I think we're better at probably getting other people to do stuff than we are actually following through with it, if that makes sense. It's we're DM in Vietnam, it was we're good at getting other people to assassinate people that we want assassinated. We can funnel money to them or support for them, or it's hey, we want to overthrow this government, or let's support the rebels of such and such. I mean, that doesn't always work out, but actually, we're not good. I don't know. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know.
You sound like you know your history.
I'm starting to wonder. I'm no history teacher or anything. Let's not confuse that.
Did you or did you not actually go into the manhole in Dallas?
I did.
That was a gay bar. He went. Oh wait, is this? What are we talking about now?
This is the real rabbit hole.
Sorry.
No, man. Yeah. So what's cool if you go to Dallas, that area right there, Dealey Plaza, looks exactly the way it does in all the Zapruder film and all the images and everything, and the grassy knoll is still there, the fence is still there, everything is there, and so it is trippy to stand in that stuff, and you can go get in the manhole and see what it would look like out from the thing, or stand behind the fence and actually in the book depository is a museum now, which is really cool, and they've got the actual window plexiglassed off, but you can stand pretty close.
So that's the window where what's his face shot him from?
Oswald.
That'd be
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Adam Oswald.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's the window, the sixth floor there, and then anyway.
Did you have
so
to
it's
pay
cool.
to get into the manhole? Like, is this a touristy thing where you pay $5, $10 for the manhole experience? Or
No, there was a homeless dude that got in there with me and tried to sell me a newspaper. But other than that, it was
Wow.
free to get in the manhole. I might have been the only person to ever do that. I'm not quite sure about that.
so if you ever go to Dallas, tell
Well,
us.
Did you get a picture on the grassy knoll? I feel like the grassy knoll is kind of a pretty sick photo op.
Yeah, there's probably a picture around somewhere of that. I know I've got a manhole picture somewhere. Because the idea was like, it's one of those things you lift. It's like a little, like, a storm drain. So there's a manhole right there, and you can lift it up, and you get a little storm drain. So it's like you could totally take a shot out from that storm drain.
So, okay, yeah, I was about to say, can you explain the significance of the manhole? We just kind of got into the manhole conversation, and I'm just rolling with it. But I haven't done my homework on the JFK stuff. What's the situation with the manhole? I don't remember a manhole.
So the manhole is just one of many ideas here to get a shot from the front, and so the knoll area is the most common, and first of all, any shot from the front period, you're into conspiracy at that point, because they're all supposed to come from the back. Once you get into the front, so if you want to think that it came from the front at all, then you're into the grassy knoll or the storm drain. Where else? Those are the two big ones. There's a guy with an umbrella. I thought maybe did it. There's one of them that's actually interesting, is the idea that the shot came from behind, but it wasn't. The last one wasn't Oswald, and it was actually a Secret Service agent. So the idea being that Oswald fired a couple of times, and the Secret Service agent stands up, pulls out an M16 from under the seat. He's like, "Oh shit, man, this is going down." And the car kind of lurches forward, and he's like, "Pop," shoots him by accident. And then you do get a good motive now for covering stuff up, because are you really going to say the Secret Service killed the president by accident?
So
you get into
fire.
That. That's an idea.
A lot of people think it was not by accident that the government, because so many people wanted him dead, right? I mean,
so many people, the mob. If I were to subscribe to any of the conspiracy theories surrounding JFK, it would definitely be the mob. I can totally see that, just knowing what I know of the mob. Not that I am a great historian, but do have some insight, as maybe you do, David Oswald. So I think that I could see that. And also I feel like with the JFK assassination, little chunks of information are coming out all the time. I just saw something the other day where, I don't know where I saw it, TV, internet, my mind is mush, so it could have been my dreams, that he had all of this Russian paraphernalia on him when he was arrested.
I don't know about that.
Oswald?
Oswald.
Oh, yeah. Oswald.
Yeah.
Dude, he lived in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
He had a Russian wife.
Then I guess it's news to me.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Oswald definitely. I thought you were talking about Kennedy.
JFK. Yeah, I did too. I was that would be
sorry.
news, but yeah, that stuff.
No, I had no idea the amount of Russian ties that he had, and I didn't know that. I maybe I saw it on some clickbait. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just the coincidences of some stuff. It's like the Wuhan thing we were saying. It's like, what are the coincidences that there's a lab there, and that's where it all comes out, or the U.S. just visits right there a few days before, or you kind of look at the correlation of things, and you don't want to say it's causation, but then again, you've got like somebody who is a U.S. military soldier, then decides he's going to go live in the Soviet Union. They let him in, then he's able to come back and live here during like the height of the Cold War, and then eventually he ends up getting a job in a building that just so happens one day, the presidential motorcade is going to go by, and it's just kind of like this is just a series of coincidences there. And there's stuff when he lived in Louisiana too. There are a lot of government buildings right around. He's kind of always near these government buildings, or there's the weird stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, speaking of timing and coincidences, I'm going to keep riding my train of stupidity and talk about the Disney conspiracy.
Oh yes.
Okay.
It's all the penises.
That's not a conspiracy. That's real.
That's real. Watch A Little Mermaid or Lion King. There's lots of little, Easter eggs, I guess. So this is new to me, but there is a conspiracy out there that Disney actually released this in coordination with their Disney Plus streaming service.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right? So that obviously, if you're not familiar with Disney Plus, you don't have kids. I don't actually have it, but I feel like everybody I know has it with kids. It's got all of their, I guess, shows since the freaking dawn of Disney in one place, and you can stream it. It's like $7 a month. Anyway, this came out like maybe I don't know, when did it come out? Like mid-January, early February, maybe even.
Yeah, it hasn't been that long.
December 31st, China reported it to WHO.
Right. So there is a theory out there that Disney released it. Now, I have to say, as I've said on this podcast many times, I was supposed to go to Disney on spring break, and I'm still bitter, but understandably so, they closed down. And so, obviously this is debunked, because why in the world would they lose so much money in their park system to coronavirus? So I think it's pretty safe to say that Disney did not release the coronavirus.
Yeah.
That's a good one, though. I like that idea.
Yeah.
I was Googling the other day, and so I was like, okay, let me see what else is out there. And there's like one with Israel wants to like inject Palestinians with like sterilization drugs. There's under the guise of a vaccine. Bill Gates, like
I was about to say
there's one about 5G. This one's cool, about 5G network towers that, like, if you actually look at like big technological innovations with like electromagnetic waves, there's like a pandemic that like follows, or is like the invention of and dissemination of like radio, and there's like like the flu of 1918, and there's like stuff like that. But I was actually looking up, 'cause I was like you were saying, Scott, like who benefits, and I was like, who benefits the most that I can think of? Toilet paper companies.
Right.
So it's like, what's the biggest toilet? So
God, it's Costco.
So it's
big toilet paper.
It's been Costco all along. It's big. Yeah. So this is the TP conspiracy.
Oh my gosh, are we an unwitting
We are
patsy in all this?
Exactly. We
Or
totally.
what's called a honeypot or something? Oh my god.
We're the honeypot.
We're sheep dipped. That's another one, I think. So well, this is just my thing. I was looking it up, and so Scott's Scott's paper products is like the biggest producer, and so all these companies are always owned by other people and in bed with other conglomerates. So I looked, and they recently acquired SK Corporation. It stands South Korea, so it's like a big South Korean conglomerate who has their dealings in like chemicals and oil and all kinds of stuff. And so and they SK just had a deal with in Wuhan with China for building like for like refining petroleum and stuff. I don't know. I was trying to put the pieces together, but
So
it
wait
may
a
be a
minute.
massive
Is this
TP conspiracy.
Is this a fresh conspiracy that's being hatched as we speak?
Yeah, I'm hatching it
Oh,
right
this is
now.
yours. Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
We got a new one,
I'll
everybody.
work on it.
You're saying that big toilet paper, specifically Scott Paper Towel, is not going to be a sponsor of this podcast yet again.
I was
Follow the money.
I was this close to nabbing Scott's.
Is possibly responsible for releasing coronavirus. That's what you're saying right now.
It's
Standing
possible.
behind that. You're standing behind that.
Yeah. Do the math. Follow.
I
the money.
love with
Follow the
conspiracies.
trail. Follow the money.
I love when people really want you to believe a conspiracy and they just will say something like, do you really believe the government or something? It's like, well, no, but that doesn't mean necessarily that I'm going to go burn down a 5G tower or whatever. But who else is benefiting now that I think about it is Zoom, Skype.
Oh yeah.
Who owns those people? I guess Zoom's kind of their own deal, right? But
I'm drinking off camera.
okay, no problem.
Oh, well, don't feel ashamed about that. We've been drinking on camera for weeks, so
Yeah.
bring it on.
It's more
You're
my
right.
disguise.
Oh, he has to keep his.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you got to keep it covered.
Come on, guys.
That's right. So toilet paper companies are benefiting, obviously. Lysol. Who owns Lysol? Who owns disinfectants?
Probably Disney.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Going
Disney?
back to the Disney Plus thing. No, I just said probably, but like going back to the Disney Plus thing, or just Disney. If you've seen any like conspiracy type documentary, they generally start with like, did you know there are actually only 4 companies in the world? You know what I mean? Like everything rolls up to friggin' General Electric or whatever. And I think, ABC, ESPN, Disney, and all of them, they all roll up to somebody. I don't know. So there's like, Viacom, GE.
Disney's a big one.
Disney,
So-
ABC, ABC. And
I mean, if you did want to fake a coronavirus, you would basically have to be Disney because you would have to own the media companies, in order to manufacture stories.
Well, and that's the other thing. I know we're sort of jumping around with the conspiracy theories, but whatever. That's the other one, which is like the media is in cahoots, and there's no actual, going back to that, there's really no actual pandemic, or that it's being blown out of proportion. My problem with those always is like, how in the world would you be able to coordinate that? I know as much as and same thing with like the government stuff and the deep state stuff. I'm like, I'm sorry, we can't sort out the post office, or we can't sort out, you're telling me the media there's no way you could keep that reined in enough to have I mean, the media does tend to have narratives that it pushes, but this is just, maybe, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it could really be pulled off. But I guess the conspiracy theorists would say, yeah, you're sitting at home right now with a tinfoil hat on and you're not going outside without a face mask. So maybe they did pull it off. But
I don't know. I think about the Weinstein, and I've said this before, I think on the podcast. I don't know. Again, don't remember what day it is. Don't remember what podcast we talked about. But the Harvey Weinstein and the media cover up and the covering for him, and the will like not run that story versus to run the story, and like how embedded and entangled he was with all of the media conglomerates, and how he can spin stories and threaten people and all of that. So I'm not saying that I believe that all the media can coordinate, but there is so much play in the media going on, and it's scary. Like, it's scary to think about like what they can, and of course, think about your 80-year-old grandparents who have been bona fide like brainwashed by Fox News. So that happens, like it can go the other way around too. But I'm just saying, like it has great power.
You're right.
Will they all band together to form a pandemic? Probably not. But this is like thing. If anxiety, if this is my Super Bowl, well, this is their Super Bowl on steroids. I don't know.
Very good points all around. I mean, I guess with the Weinstein stuff, it's like that's and other things like that. It's more like omission versus like we're gonna, put out that there. But you're right. I mean, the media really does have a big hold on us, and one of the things they do is so like the thing about conspiracy theories is, first of all, the name itself, is already sort of, when you say that, you're sort of dismissing it already. But the thing about conspiracy theories is like there's usually so much stuff that's like plausible in them. There's a reason why that you get people to go, holy shit, this could be true. And there's so much distrust of the government and the media. It makes it kind of easy to fall into really believing some of this stuff. But the 5G one, I think, seems like one of the loonier ones, just because there's no real, I mean, like you said before, maybe you could like show that there's some, what is it, causality? No, I got it.
Correlation.
Not, thank you. But then it's like, how does the actual, like, I've had somebody send me some videos about the 5G thing, which I've sort of watched, and I haven't seen any sort of actual science or anything other than just like, hey, the timing. It's like, well, there's a lot of things that happen.
This is a big, big deal in Britain. They've had attacks on cell towers destroyed, workers.
Oh, wow.
Physically beaten.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout the UK. And, this Belgian doctor, I believe, back in January suggested this, the link to COVID. And since then, it's been spread by other people. I can't remember if this was like a Woody Harrelson spread or not, but
it was.
Okay. So, it's gotten around, but it's had some really serious consequences. Like they are destroying property and, physically beating people up. I mean, that is a big freaking deal. It's Uncle Sam.
I was going to say, I want to say for the record, if you're listening to this, I didn't start laughing because Erin said they're beating people up. It's because Uncle Sam appeared on the screen while David Oswald had a beer off camera.
He stands in for me.
So the other one I wanted to just spend another minute on is I want to go back to David had mentioned oh gosh, what's his name? Bill Gates. And I had no idea. I kind of went down the rabbit hole on that one of just, there are so many Bill Gates conspiracies. I mean, they're really refreshed right now that people are saying, but I mean, there's a YouTube video that has like 2 million views. I don't know how many of them are people watching and kind of laughing at the person, but this pastor who says that, Bill Gates is the Antichrist and, he's trying to control the population through vaccines. So like hardcore anti-vaxxers also are tying their sort of narrative into what's happening now. And the really extreme ones are now, some of them, right, are entertaining the idea that there's like population control. And because, again, there's a little truth to it because Bill Gates is really, like, he's been the one. Have you guys seen I think it's like a TED talk he did like 15 years ago where he pretty much was like, we have to prepare for exactly what's happening now. And you're like, holy shit, we should have done everything he said. But that can get used as sort of evidence of, hey, he was planning this all along, which is
honestly, you definitely it's like, so to really be above suspicion, you'll make a TED talk on what you like to do.
Right.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah.
So that one is, I think people want to buy into it because they already are not trusting of like vaccines anyway, there's a bunch of other loony stuff. I mean, there's no way we can get into it all. I mean, there are people selling, essentially having people drink bleach. That's some of the QAnon stuff, which is a whole nother rabbit hole.
See, maybe this population control really will work itself out.
Right. From a Darwinistic.
Where it's like, I think this is all ridiculous. Okay, so you and 300 of your strangers go ahead and get in a big group without masks and go yell really loud, and then you think that drinking bleach is a good idea, go ahead and do that. Let's see what happens.
The sad part for me is, I mean, yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's like,
don't get vaccinated. When the vaccine comes out for COVID-19, you take a pass.
Well, but I mean, there are people that believe that because of a lot of this has to do with the flu vaccine or something. I'm trying to remember what I read, but it was like the flu vaccine was prepping us for this.
Oh, like destroying our immunity?
Yeah,
like by this whole push for the flu vaccine. I mean, people hate the flu vaccine. I mean, y'all know that, right? Like, there's a huge group of people.
Oh yeah.
Wait, I think that was
a very
literally
vocal minority, but
wasn't that literally the X-Files plot where it was like people were getting flu vaccines to like prep them for the alien DNA implantment?
Sounds very familiar. I think that's right. Yeah.
We're not going to argue that one.
Yeah, it sounds real.
Yeah. But
I think one of it, whether, hey, look, if you had the flu this year, like, flu is no joke, obviously. Like, flu is putting people in hospitals. People are dying of flu, but this isn't the flu. It's not the flu. And, I hate when people compare it to the flu. Look, I mean, I had the flu shot. I got the flu this year. And people say, I'm not going to get the flu shot because, fuck it, I got the flu. Well, I got the flu for 3 days versus like 7 days. And you know what? That's 4 days where I could work, where I was able to like get up out of bed and take care of my kids versus 7 days. And that's a big freaking deal, So I hate when people say, I'm not going to get the flu vaccine because it doesn't matter. It does matter. And this isn't the flu. This is way worse than the flu. And that just bugs the hell out of me. Like, I hate when people are so science matters. Like, science matters.
Yeah. Expertise
matters. I didn't study it, but somebody who was fucking smarter than me did. So let's try to understand. But I mean, and I don't know. That's
no, yeah. I mean, I think just what it comes down to is you can believe science and experts and put your trust in doctors and scientists, right? Or you can say you can't believe them because they're all part of a conspiracy that is driven by corporate greed, which is driven by, the Illuminati or whatever. It's like, are you so naive to think that? Do you realize? And then you'll get little bits. Well, Pfizer gets a kickback on this that this doctor's pushing, and therefore this. And then you're like, well, shit, that's kind of shitty. And can I trust these people? So that's where that creeps in. And next thing you know, you've got like this really kind of scary vocal minority that's against science in some ways. And then in some ways, maybe is more for science, maybe they believe in global warming, but don't believe in the earth is round. I mean, who knows? It's like,
you got to take everything with some common sense, use your own common sense too. I agree. Like, drug companies rule doctors. I mean, like, every time they prescribe you something, is it the right prescription? You got to do your own homework too. I'm not saying that, but
yeah,
you
by the way, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Don't come next to me if you didn't get your flu. Yeah, don't complain to me if you didn't get your flu shot. So I don't know, just kind of going back to, conspiracy theories and like, we were talking about Woody Harrelson and
what did he do?
celebrities, and like, you think about, who are the big anti-vaxxers who are always come to mind when you think about Jenny McCarthy and like Jim Carrey and, some of these other people that we may love for being on Singled Out or The Mask or whatever. but
The Mask.
Oh
my God, Jim Carrey predicted this in 1997 that we'd all be wearing masks. It's a metaphor, man.
Totally.
It's a metaphor.
It was 94, but you are. Sorry, I'm a.
I love that you know that, and that, yeah, of course it has to be because I was still in high school and I went and saw it at the theater. But thank you for correcting me on that.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's him. Maybe he did it.
But if you're gonna blame
he said somebody stopped me, and nobody apparently did.
Yeah, when he said smoking, he was talking about those 5G. Oh, I shouldn't. Too soon. All right, so I'm sorry, Erin. Back to.
No, I was gonna say, but if you're gonna blame anybody, like forget really like the anti-vaxxers, Jenny McCarthy, forget all those people. Yeah. If you're gonna blame anybody, why not blame the Kardashians, who really threw the whole psychic Sylvia Brown conspiracy theory into the ring? Now,
can you remind the listeners who the psychic Sylvia Brown is? just in case.
Okay.
They don't know.
I love that's like
for them, not for me.
Yeah, it's like the newscasters, and they're doing interviews and they don't know. They're like, why don't you remind the viewer listener what exactly that is?
Allow me. Okay, if you've ever watched the Montel Williams show in the 1990s,
oh yeah,
there was a psychic on short brown hair. Actually, kind of reminded me of somebody maybe David Oswald and I both know very well. Kind of older lady, had red hair, bob about up to here. Psychic Sylvia Brown. Now, Psychic Sylvia Brown would be on, I don't know, probably like once a month. She was on.
Is she gonna pop up on the screen? By the way, like
show notes. We
could totally get her on the show.
No, she's deceased. She's passed.
She didn't see that coming, huh?
Channel her somehow. We could channel her. She's predicted, people would come on the show basically and ask, it's like those psychics you see on like the E! channel or whatnot,
right.
Where is my father? Was somebody murdered? Blah, blah, blah. So Psychic Sylvia Brown was one of those people. But she also wrote this book in 2007 or 8. Don't remember the name of the book. But it was shared that by, I think, one of the Kardashian sisters, Khloe, maybe Kourtney, that in 2008, she predicted in 2020 there would be some very a strange pneumonia-like illness that was going to plague millions of people. So she highlighted it, put it on her Instagram, and now like gazillion million followers are now like, shit, psychic girl Sylvia Brown predicted it. 2008. Now, it's not a conspiracy theory per se.
It's just
misinformation.
But it goes back to like believing anything. I mean, you're like, is this true? Is this, I mean, it's even like the thing they can do now, what's it called? Deep faking.
Oh, yeah.
You don't even know if what you're seeing is real half the time. You could see a video of what's her name, downtown Julie Brown, the psychic or whatever, but Miss Julie or whatever.
Wasn't she on E? Yeah. Wasn't it like an E show?
See, I'm purposely putting misinformation out there that
she did Talk Soup.
Yeah, downtown Julie Brown was that was from MTV back in the day, but
she was an OG.
That's right. But OG VJ. But getting back to it's like you never really know what to believe, and then all of a sudden you see that and you're like, is it real? Do my eyes deceive me? Well, the Kardashians, gosh, I just can't believe how much sway the Kardashians have on our daily life.
Yeah. This was a big thing. It was passed around. It went all over social media so quickly, obviously, because anything they do does. And like I said, it's just crazy, and it's not a conspiracy theory, but it's just one of those things where you're like, all right, oh my God, everybody just fucking.
Well, watch this. Let's put these puzzle let's put these puzzle pieces together here. Like, we've established that you can do some deep fake videos.
Mm-hmm.
Disney Corporation controls the media. I mean, have you seen Lion King 2? Or sorry, not Lion King 2. The
The
new
live
Lion,
action.
the live action one.
No, I
Have
haven't
you
seen
seen that? Okay, like that movie has no real animals in it. The whole thing is CG'd. It's like they're at a point now where if you did want to fake something, couldn't you just create the look of people on TV talking about coronavirus? Like, I
Absolutely.
saw Princess Leia on screen doing stuff in Star Wars, and bitch was dead for months. You know, and it's like they
Yeah.
have this ability. And
Right.
so, I mean, there's actually in that Lion King remake, the director put one and one only real shot of actual Earth. And he was like, I dare you to find it. Like, you know, like
Right.
the
It's
whole
so
thing is
good now.
computers. So
Well,
you could,
okay.
you could have whatever, you know, the Cuomo brother, you know, or you could
Right.
have whoever just completely CG'd.
Well, and then the flip side, and maybe even scarier thing to that is, it's like, okay, yeah, you could have a video of, people talking about releasing the coronavirus that would look so real that you'd believe it. But on the other hand, what if there was real video? There's plausible deniability now for everything, right? So if I'm a political candidate, and let's just say, for example, and all of a sudden there's a video of me doing something I'm not supposed to do, which, do you know what I'm saying? You can say, well, that wasn't me. That's a deep fake video. And we'd be like, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We can't tell the difference anyway.
That's going to be my defense when they hold me in court.
That's
I'm
what
going
I'm
to say,
saying.
you know, I'm just going to make a deep fake video, and I'm just going to say, hey,
Well, they
burden of
can't
proof's on you.
They can't deep fake you though, because you are keeping yourself covered and don't have, as I'm guessing, a ton of videos and pictures of yourself and everything. That's how they did it with, like, I saw one of, do you guys know who Jordan Peterson is?
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, he's okay.
Just
Well,
let the listeners know, in case they don't know,
yeah.
who that is.
Long story short, he's
No.
yeah. Long story short, it doesn't really matter who the point is, he's a professor from Canada, but was in the media a ton for the last couple of years, wrote a really successful book. He does a lot of lectures, and people made these videos of him saying stuff that weren't him at all, because they can feed all of his audio and video into a machine learning program that can take it all, and then they can just regurgitate it back. Because if you hear the man talk, if you have hours and hours and hours and hours, as he does as a professor online, you can then take that, put it into your, you see what I'm saying, and spit back out a fake person. But you can't do that if you don't have a lot of stuff. So I'm screwed, because I have like 17 podcasts that have been going. But the good news is nobody cares to do that for me. So I don't think anybody would need to make a deep fake video.
We won't start.
Yeah.
Well, if you've listened to, there was a recent podcast episode of Dax Shepard, who is he's an excellent host. I mean, he's such a good interviewer, armchair expert, and he interviewed a reporter. I can't remember from where. I sorry about that, but it was recent, and his whole job was to investigate, or his assignment was to investigate trolls, internet trolls. And he found out, I mean, like, this guy was saying the lengths that people would go to distort information. So this one guy that he interviewed face to face, and he was responsible for, like, disseminating information about Hillary Clinton, and during the campaign, about how she was, okay, so like Hillary Clinton had bags under her eyes one day. It was his job to go and disseminate information about how Hillary Clinton had bags under her eyes. Hillary Clinton is sick. Hillary Clinton is, and he said, the most clickable stories are about people who are sick, or you're sick, or you're disgusted by. So that's where the whole like Hillary is sick, Hillary's got bags in her eyes, Hillary is tired, Hillary can't take this, has no stamina. That whole thing, because one photo of Hillary had bags in her, she had bags in her eyes. He started it. And the whole thing freaking blew up that Hillary's sick. Remember that? Like we all remember.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And here was the guy that did it. It was one guy, this suburban guy in his basement who was really good at spinning stories. He wasn't a technology expert. He didn't know how all of that worked. He was just really good at writing and spinning stories. And he was hired by whomever to write these stories about the opposing campaign. And that's what he did. And it's such an interesting interview with him. Andrew something, I'd have to look it up.
I'll check that out.
But if like to think about, okay, here's another thing, like the trolls and what their role is in disseminating all of this information, misinformation, more like it. Like that is just fucking scary. And now you've got millions of people thinking that Hillary Clinton is sick, is like physically sick, or whatever it is, whatever story that they're going to put out.
Remember the sex ring one?
Right.
The
like Pizzagate.
Yeah.
Pizzagate.
Someone actually showed up with a gun. It was like, show me the like, free the people.
Right. And that was probably put out there by one of these hired hands. It's scary. And it goes all back to our conversation about what is the media showing us versus what is reality, who's putting these things out there. I mean, that's a much bigger conversation, but
it's two sides to one coin. If in my opinion, if the media, when did it all change? I don't know, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, Walter Cronkite kind of told the news what it was, and then you had your opinion section. You had Andy Rooney come on, whatever, and now it's also hyper politicized on it's the echo chamber thing. Everybody kind of wants that confirmation bias of what they believe, and it's just become so hyper partisan that we can't really believe the mainstream media. I'll say that it's really hard to believe the mainstream media because it feels like there are narratives there. So then what's the flip side of that? So now, because you can't rely on we don't have reliable news sources, or at least we don't think we do. Okay, so we can't believe them. So now what do we believe? We believe, and I say we, but I just mean people believe kind of crazy stuff like that the government's being run by a ring of, pedophiles and cannibals. I mean, do you see what I mean?
At least
I think
of that is false.
Yeah, not a lot of cannibals, but but do you know what I'm saying? In the vacuum is there with the lack of like credible news, and if it is there, I would like somebody to tell me about it, because it just doesn't feel like it is there, and a lot of stuff just doesn't feel intellectually honest, on all sides. So
yeah, I agree.
All right, so let's sort of just. This has been a really fascinating and fun conversation. Why don't we wrap up with...
At least half of that is true.
Wait, was it fascinating or fun? I don't know. But should we? How should we wrap it up, Erin? Should we say kind of like what we think actually happened, or do we just not know? Because I was thinking about this, and I'm like, I have no freaking idea what's going on.
I'm gonna blame whatever a pangolin is. That's
what ate the bat, right?
That's what ate the bat that chased the rat that went to the house that Jack built and infected him with coronavirus. That's my belief, and I'm sticking to it. Anybody else?
No, it does seem like it
exists, man. You made a pangolin up. What's a pangolin? No, I know. I'm just kidding. I think that sounds about right to me. What do you think, Mr. Oswald?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say that seems the most plausible thing. Is the petri dish of caged animals, I don't know, somebody fucked a bat and now we're in this mess. But it's like
That's
it's
the
like,
thing that I kept
yeah.
wondering about was like they kept talking about, man, somebody ate a bat, now I got to stay home, and I'm like, did they eat them?
Yeah,
Or did
yeah,
they
right.
transmit? Like,
No,
what
I think
actually happened with the bat or the pangolin or whatever the hell?
it could be all of their other
Yeah, it's all the animals
things that
mixing
they
together.
touch. And I think the lesson of this is just don't eat a tiger. Like,
Well, now it can spread
don't
to
eat.
I know we're trying to wrap up, but
Yeah, we
now it
don't
can,
have to.
but now it can spread to tigers. I mean, so here's the thing. So it's like you put all these animals in close proximity and all these germs and viruses and stuff, and eventually one kind of surfaces that becomes evolved enough to kind of transmit between, and all of a sudden one day it jumps to a human, one day it jumps from a human to another human, and then one day it jumps from a human to a tiger. And who's to say it doesn't jump from a tiger to a human again, but now it's changed.
Right.
You know, one thing about the 1918 flu that, I mean, I know we're talking about waves with COVID, but the second wave of the 1918 flu killed way more people than the first one. And it's like no one's mentioning that. Like it basically, like, it can mutate over the summer, ladies and gentlemen, and come back. You think this is bad? Like, it could come back worse. It could come back better. I don't know. But these things can mutate and change, and it jumps into a dog and comes out in a different manner, and who knows? Now all bets are off. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. I mean, I think now that, and again, I don't really watch the news that much, but we think that, I mean, has the freaking curve flattened? I mean, are we on the way down? I mean, I've been hearing things like, hey, we might be able to start getting out there. I know Erin's probably shaking her head saying no, but like, I have started to hear people say there's going to be another wave. I hadn't thought about it in the way that you said, which is like it could jump to another species and then jump back. Because I'm like, why doesn't this happen all the time? Or does it happen? I mean, do you know what I'm saying? Like, why has it been since, well, I guess it wasn't 1918. There was 1918, but then there was another, what was the one in the 60s? Like there's another one. But there hasn't been, it's not like we have a pandemic every summer.
No.
The correct term is zoonotic spillover, y'all. Okay.
Oh, wow.
That is where, right. I did a little bit of research, but so that is what is happening at these like wet markets where they're going from animal to animal to animal. Now, how they're getting from animal to human, we're
animals, man.
Right. We are animals. We are touching their stuff. We are, it could get here a number of ways. So you don't have to like screw a sheep to get a sheep's disease. Like,
I'm pretty sure that's how it happens.
I think that's how it happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Can we
so
let's put it this way. It's not how it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So I'm just saying you don't have
Thank
to.
you.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
Where's the proof of that?
Get that. So I don't know about jumping back and forth constantly, but like I have read the same things you have where about the 1918 pandemic and coupling with the flu season and adding to that in the fall. So it's like not only that, but the corona, but the flu, then you've got this, what they're really worried about is this, the overwhelming of the health system. And having those two things going on simultaneously is just, I can't even imagine what that's going to look like. But
that's like back to the beach, big kahuna, man.
This is our
second is a word.
Beach.
That's the wave.
Cast, by the way, second back to the beach reference.
I literally had not thought about Back to the Beach since, I'm sure you'll correct me on the year, but what, like 1992 or something?
That would be 1987 or 86, 87, but okay.
Wow. Okay. But now I've heard about Back to the Beach twice in 3 weeks or something. This is crazy, but good call. Wasn't Pee Wee Herman in Back to the Beach?
He was. He did the bird.
That's what I thought. He did.
He did the bird. Who got Maxwell Smart? Let's just go back there for 1 second. There were lots of guest appearances. Not Don Knotts. Don
Rickles?
No, the one who was Maxwell Smart. You know, the cone of silence. Get smart. Don Adams.
That wasn't Don.
Don Adams.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't
should
know
know
his
that
name. I just know him as Maxwell Smart.
I should have known that because I'm a huge Get Smart fan.
Yeah.
But
By the way, the new Get Smart, did you watch the one with Steve Carell?
I think I did one time.
Yeah, I would have thought it would be terrible, but I watched it with my kids and we thoroughly enjoyed it. It was really funny and like a good action
for that. Is he perfect? Oh,
yeah,
man.
he's perfect. And then the actress that plays 99, it's the Princess Diaries girl. I can't think of her name. But,
Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, who's not like my favorite at all, but it's a good movie. I mean, you know how you watch a movie with your kids and you're like, is this a good movie or am I just enjoying it because like the kids are enjoying it and you know what I'm saying? Anyway, we're way off track, but Get Smart. I recommend it if you have kids, especially. But yeah, a lot of people were in that movie. But again, I haven't thought about it and I can't do the math, but 25 years, something like that.
Well, you've got Lori Loughlin. You've got who's now maybe in jail. Yeah.
So anyway, Lori.
If you really want to know who's in it,
Who else? Who else was?
Frankie Avalon, obviously, in that Funicello. Those two. Wait, I feel like there was more. You know, like stars of the 90s.
Pauly Shore, right?
No, he
What was
wasn't.
he in? No, he wasn't around.
Biodome.
Son-in-law.
Wait, what's
the one where he gets sequestered?
Shore? What beach movie wasn't Pauly Shore in a beach movie though?
He was in Son-in-Law.
He wasn't in a beach movie.
I'm sure he was. He's the weasel. Like
he's Weezer the Juice.
Who's the guy who's the guy that what's his name is talking? All right, so okay, so
this is all gonna be edited out by the way.
Listen. If you want hot back to the beach talk, we got it at Panic at the Costco. Let me tell you.
Go get
all right,
VHS and watch it today.
Who cares? I'm fine with it. We're an hour and a half in. We can talk about whatever we want. If you're still here, then you're along for the ride.
Yeah. Man. All right. Like the main character in that movie who looks like the guy from Mad About You. I forget his name. But like
Paul Reiser. It's
yeah. And then is that actually him?
Yeah, it's actually Frankie Avalon.
Is it okay?
And it's
it looks like Paul Reiser in my head. And so Paul Reiser is
He looks like Brooke Convey too.
he sleeps in like the building and he goes, it's like where everybody's coming down the fire pole.
Right.
And they're like ringing the bell. Who is he talking to? Isn't he talking to like Pauly Shore?
No, it's not Pauly Shore. It's just this other like
I'm looking this up because we're not going to be able to sleep tonight.
It's just this other random like surf dude. I don't think it's Pauly Shore, but he has a major hangover. Remember, he's got the hangover. He gives him the hangover cure. He's like, "You need one of these." And I was like, God, I always thought about that hangover cure.
It's like 6 raw eggs and
6 raw soda.
Oh my
Obviously,
goodness!
David Oswald and I both have watched a lot.
A similar experience.
It's kind of crazy.
Weirdly similar experience in watching this movie too many times.
What are the odds of that?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, so many coincidences, like we were talking about before. I don't know. I don't feel like we're getting the whole truth.
I don't either.
Never do.
But it's out there somewhere.
Right. So is Uncle. I'd like to thank Uncle Sam for being here on tonight's program as well.
Alrighty, guys. Well.
All right. Have we covered everything? Is there anything else while we have you? Because we don't know your location, or if you'll resurface again. So we don't know if we'll be able to have you on again. So is there anything else you want to share with us, Mr. Oswald, that we should be looking out for
Hold on to your TP, fellas.
And on that note, I think we'll call it a night. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks.
Don't trust the government.
That's right.
All right.
Speaksies.